endocrinologist, Sepuri Diabetes and Endocrine Center, Karnool. So today we are going to talk in depth about the sulfonylurea, the glycoside. My choice of sulfonylurea. I'm little bit fond of this particular molecule glycoside because it has got many special characteristics. So my preponderance out of all the sulfonylureas will be the glycoside. So let me start with the introduction. The oral anti-diabetic drugs still dominate the prescribing pattern for management of type 2 diabetes mellitus. For decades, sulfonylureas have been the important drugs in the anti-diabetic therapeutic armamentarium, and sulfonylureas alone or in combination with metformin have been the most commonly prescribed the oral anti-diabetic drugs, especially in the Indian scenario and the Asian scenario actually. And unlike the conventional sulfonylureas, the modern sulfonylureas, so we divide it into conventional sulfonylureas are the old generation sulfonylureas, are the modern or the latest generation sulfonylureas such as the glycoside modified release and the glimepiride are associated with better safety profiles, and individualization of the treatment using sulfonylureas in combination with other drugs backed with careful monitoring of patient education ensures maximum benefits with minimal side effects. So the take-home message is in my practice, in my experience, and even as per the Indian evidence-based medicine, the sulfonylureas like the glycoside or the glimepiride, they stand in the second position after the metformin. And in case there is some contraindication for metformin, this becomes the first drug of choice, like very lean type 2 diabetes mellitus is one example of that, whose body mass index is somewhere around 16-17, that is underweight, and insulin comes first. Then in case the insulin is not required, you can just go ahead with this particular sulfonylureas. And always the take home message is always the treatment of type 2 diabetes mellitus starts with metformin unless otherwise it is contraindicated. So sulfonylureas are only an add-on therapy to metformin. Always keep it in your mind. Slides move out little. Where? Slides are not moving. Somebody is middling. Yeah, sorry for the technical glitch in the beginning itself. Okay, and now we come to the classification based on the hierarchy of the development, the modern sulfonylureas and the conventional sulfonylureas. And the conventional sulfonylureas, the tolbutamide no more available, the chlorpropamide no more available, and it starts with the glibenclamide actually. And the modern sulfonylureas are the that starts with the glipizide, the modified release, or the glimepiride or the glycoside modified release. So these two are no more in the market, tolbutamide and chlorpropamide. Once the promising sulfonylureas to start with, they are no more. And one more thing is no more, that is fenformin, the bigvanids. Only metformin is available. Fenformin is taken away from the market for the fear of lactic acidosis. And the glycemic effect of modern sulfonylureas, and you know the mechanism of action actually. Always the sulfonylureas are linked to unique mechanism of action. So they just stick to the cell surface of the beta cell membrane, and they start squeezing the insulin from the beta cell. the modern sulfonylureas, the insulin secretagogues that promote the release of insulin from pancreatic beta cell by binding to sulfonylurea receptors and inhibiting the potassium ATP channels. And you can see the efficacy of the oral anti-hyperglycemic agents. So this is according to David Nathan, which was published in long ago, like Diabetes Care 2009. David Nathan is the person who has introduced this particular the A1C as the diagnostic tool for diagnosing diabetes. So he is Mr. David Nathan. According to him, the efficacy is like the expected reduction in the A1C with monotherapy is metformin 1 to 2% and the sulfonylureas 1 to 2%. And the thiazolidine we have only one thiazolidine, rosiglitazone is gone, so we have only pioglitazone. It is 0.5 to 1.4%, and alpha glucosidase inhibitors it is 0.5 to 0.8%, and glinides is 0.5 to 1.5%, and DPP4 inhibitors it's 0.5 to 0.9%, and SGLT2 inhibitors it is 0.5 to 0.9%. And I think there are many more changes because they SGLT2 inhibitors they reduce even to the tune of 1 to 1.5% of A1C reductions, because this is an old slide when there were no the SGLT2 inhibitors in the vogue at that particular time, way back in 2009. The reference they have taken this particular slide is dated back to 2009 actually. So, and the complementary mechanism of action of sulfonylureas and metformin, that's what I said. It is the best combination, the best dual combination, the Jugalbandi is the combination of metformin with the sulfonylureas, because the basic pathology is, all of you know, the type 2 diabetes basic pathology is the impaired beta cell function or the beta cell dysfunction, and the insulin resistance and the background, and the hepatic glucose overproduction. That is, these are the basic pathophysiological features at the background of type 2 diabetes. And the complementary mechanism of action with the metformin and the sulfonylurea is, and the metformin has got insulin sensitizing properties, because metformin is a insulin sensitizer actually that reduces the insulin resistance and improves the insulin sensitivity. And the beta cell dysfunction, so there is improper secretion of the insulin from the islet cells of the beta cells. So the secretagogues, what they do is the mechanism of action just now we discussed. It sticks to the cell surface membrane of the beta cell, and it acts via the sulfonylurea receptors, and thereby the insulin secretion starts by inhibiting the potassium ATP channels and improves the beta cell function and increases the insulin synthesis and the release. And metformin also decreases the mechanism of action of the particular the metformin is, it acts on the level of liver, it acts on the level of muscle, it acts on the level of fat actually. The metformin decreases the hepatic glucose output by targeting the liver to decrease the gluconeogenesis and the glycogenolysis. So a combination of two drugs with complementary mechanism of action helps in addressing multiple etiologies of the hyperglycemia in type 2 diabetes mellitus. I always mind you, they don't have any role with this particular the topic per se, the sulfonylurea, per se the glycoside is in the context of in the background of type 2 diabetes mellitus only. And efficacy as a combination therapy. So the sulfonylurea along with the metformin, the A1C reductions are somewhere around 1.7, and the sulfonylurea, this is also a very old recommendation, that is from the AA's, that is association the association of the American Clinical Endocrinologists, Diabetes Mellitus Clinical Practice Guidelines Task Force, the endocrine published in Endocrine Practice way back in 2007 says the sulfonylureas plus metformin is going to reduce the A1C by 1.7% and sulfonylurea with rosiglitazone 1.4% respectively, and sulfonylurea with pioglitazone 1.2%, sulfonylurea with acarbose 1.3%, ripaglinide with metformin 1.4%, pioglitazone with metformin 0.7%, rosiglitazone with metformin 0.8%, and dipeptidyl peptide GPP4 inhibitors plus metformin 0.7%, and dipeptidyl peptidase 4 inhibitors plus pioglitazone is 0.7%. And there is some change in the figures, okay, that depends on the person to person, the intrapersonal and the interpersonal variation is there with regards to the reduction of these particular agents, because some are very efficacious. You take an example of the DPP4 inhibitors and the SGLT2 inhibitors. They are very much the SGLT2 inhibition and the DPP inhibition in the Indians is the Asians is very high, especially in the Indian population it is very high when compared to the Caucasians or the whites. So the A1C reductions are more in the Indian population or in the Asian population when compared to the Caucasians or the whites. So the International Task Force consensus on the sulfonylureas, the consensus recommendations on sulfonylurea and the sulfonylurea combinations in the management of type 2 diabetes mellitus, an international task force, and the abstract what it says is for decades sulfonylureas have been the important drugs in the anti-diabetic therapeutic armamentarium. They have been used as monotherapy as well as the combination therapy. Focus on newer drugs like and concerns and about the risk of severe hypoglycemia and weight gain with some sulfonylureas have led to a discussion on their safety and utility. It has been borne in the mind that the adverse events associated with the sulfonylurea should not be ascribed to the whole class, as many modern sulfonylureas such as glimepiride and gliclazide modified release are associated with better safety profiles, and furthermore the individualization of the treatment and using the sulfonylureas in combination with other drugs backed with careful monitoring and the patient education ensures maximum benefits with minimal side effects. The current guidelines developed by the experts from Africa, Asia and the Middle East and promote the safe and smart use of sulfonylureas in combination with other glucose lowering agents. So this particularly the take home message of this particular thing is, so there are certain side effects with these sulfonylureas, like glibenclamide or the glipizide. They have the incidence of severe hypoglycemia with weight gain, whereas the modified gliclazide and the glimepiride are associated with minimal risk of hypoglycemia and they are almost weight neutral. And that too, this is in context with the Africa and the Asia and the Middle East, because we per se don't have the insurance system. Actually we are bound to prescribe sulfonylurea as a second line of choice along with in combination with metformin. So these countries, especially even in the international speakers always say that sulfonylurea is about to vanish. But even in the most advanced country like United States, the first drug they are going to give is the glibenclamide or the glipizide or the glimepiride. These are the molecules that have been, at least we purchase them in this form of strips, but they always, the pharmacist gives you in the form of dabbas. Everybody has to take the dabbas and it will be labeled. So for the sake of conferences, they say that okay, we don't use sulfonylureas, but the most used drug in the US is the sulfonylurea, especially the older generation like the glibenclamide and the gliclazide, and nowadays they are using glimepiride. Okay, and coming to this particular study, the TOSCA-IT. TOSCA-IT is nothing but isolated or sulfonylureas cardiovascular accidents intervention trial that is focuses on the long-term cardiovascular safety of the sulfonylureas. So the lines which you are seeing, it is not very prominently seen actually. One is a blue line that is metformin with pioglitazone, and the second is like light yellow is metformin with sulfonylurea, and the p-value is 0.79, that is statistically not significant actually. The incidence of cardiovascular events was similar in patients treated with sulfonylureas, the glimepiride and the glycoside, and those treated with pioglitazone as an add-on treatment to the metformin. And moving on to the next slide. This is all the evidence-based medicine. Okay, Carolina trial reassures on this cardiovascular safety of the modern sulfonylureas. Carolina was the cardiovascular outcome trial which was done by the Boehringer people actually, comparing this linagliptin to that of glimepiride with regards to the primary endpoints and the secondary endpoints, where the inference was shown to be like linagliptin was shown to be non-inferior to the glimepiride with regards to its cardiovascular safety. The difference between the Carolina and the Carbolina is the Carbolina is also the cardiovascular outcome trial from this Boehringer people, actually about the linagliptin only. The Carbolina is about the high cardiovascular risk patients, and the Carolina is a low cardiovascular risk patients. So you can see there was no significant difference in the occurrence of 3-point MACE. 3-point MACE is nothing but the 3-point major adverse cardiovascular events, that is the cardiovascular death and the non-fatal MI and the non-fatal stroke. These three are considered as 3-point MACE in patients treated with glimepiride as compared to that the treated with linagliptin. That's what I told. It was 12% versus 11.8%. So with a hazard ratio of 0.98 and the confidence interval was 0.84 to 1.14, and the p-value is 0.001, which is very, very statistically significant for non-inferiority. So we'll move on to the next slide. So weight gain with sulfonylureas correlated with reduction in glucotoxicity. So the weight gain associated with sulfonylureas could be considered as indicator for reduction in the glucotoxicity, and the weight gain with sulfonylureas could be attributed to the enhanced utilization of the ingested glucose and the subsequent lowering in glycosuria. And weight gain is at least it is least with the modern sulfonylureas such as the glycoside modified release when compared to the other sulfonylureas. And now we move on to the topic navigating safely towards euglycemia. And the glycemic state, actually, the fluctuating glucose levels define the glycemic state of an individual, and you can see this. This is taken from the Mayo Clinic proceedings, actually, as latest as 2018. The definition of hyperglycemia is more than 180 milligrams per deciliter of blood glucose levels, and hypoglycemia is defined as less than 70 milligrams per deciliter in the ambulatory patients, and in between, that is 70 to 180 milligrams, is supposed to be the normoglycemia or euglycemia. And the management of type 2 diabetes mellitus and the euglycemia, actually. So you can see this colored bar showing the hypoglycemia on the left hand side, that is less than 70 milligram per deciliter, and hyperglycemia on the right hand side with brick red color, that is the blood sugars of more than 180 milligrams per deciliter, and the euglycemia in between with that is in between 70 to 180 milligrams deciliter of the blood glucose. And euglycemia refers to having the normal range of blood glucose levels, and the goal of the type 2 diabetes management should be like attaining close to the state of euglycemia as safely as possible, avoiding both the hyperglycemia and the swings of hypoglycemia, that is ups and downs. And navigating towards euglycemia is a journey towards the glycemic control. And you can see the non-euglycemic state, like okay, the hyperglycemia is one, that is either the diabetic ketoacidosis DKA or the HHS, that is hyperglycemic hyperosmolar syndrome, and the hypoglycemia, that is already we discussed, the loss of consciousness and the seizures and death. These are the fag end situation of the climax of this particular hypoglycemia, that is severe hypoglycemia. Usually it starts with the mild symptoms like headache and dizziness and the palpitations, and with the tremors, and you find some altered consciousness, and you find the sweating all over the body and urge to eat. These are all in the beginning scenario. If you neglect that, and finally the patients they get into coma and may lead to seizures, dysarthria, paralysis, or cardiovascular events, and finally it may lead to death also. The long-term complications of diabetes, the cardiovascular disease and the peripheral vascular disease. The cardiovascular disease includes, the atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease includes either the heart events or the stroke events. So the microvascular being the diabetic kidney disease, there is no term according to diabetes, American Diabetes Association, there is no term called nephropathy. From 2016 onwards, it has abolished the term nephropathy. So it is replaced by a term called diabetic kidney disease and diabetic neuropathy and diabetic retinopathy. So these are all the non-euglycemic states, that is either hyperglycemia, the severe hyperglycemia, or the hypoglycemia, or the long-term complications of the diabetes. And sulfonylureas in oral combination therapy, one of the first add-on option in the latest, as per the latest ADA and ASD, the American Diabetes Association and the European Association for the Study of Diabetes guidelines. Very effective and safe as initial therapy if used in combination with the lifestyle modification and metformin in patients with HbA1c of around or more than 7.5%, and fixed dose combinations FDCs containing modern sulfonylureas glycoside modified release are very effective, very safe and convenience because of the OD dosing. The glycoside modified release, a modern sulfonylurea, and the classification based on the hierarchy of the development we already discussed, the conventional and the modern, the talbutamide and the chlorpropamide, and nowhere in the market, and the glibenclamide, and the modern will be like glipizide, and you have to put it this way, the other way around. Glipizide always is a conventional sulfonylurea, and glimepiride and the modified glycoside, modified release glycoside, they come under the modern sulfonylureas or the latest generation sulfonylureas. And classification based on the mechanism of action, it is short acting talbutamide, intermediate acting glipizide and glycoside, long acting glibenclamide, glimepiride, and the glipizide modified release are the glycoside modified release. So navigating towards euglycemia, the effectiveness of glycoside, and this is the electronic medical records based on the glycoside Indian real world evidence. The effect of glibenclamide, the glycoside or the glycoside plus metformin combination on glycemic control in patients with type 2 diabetes in India, a real world retrospective longitudinal observational study from electronic medical records. It is it was a study done for 90 days and the subjects were 98. The Indian real world effectiveness of glycoside or the glycoside plus metformin actually. And it's a retrospective longitudinal observational real world study. The electronic medical sources, HealthPlix Technologies, PRV, and study population, the electronic medical records data of the type 2 diabetes Indian patients on oral anti-diabetic drugs. 2 HbA1c readings after at least 90 days of the treatment were taken, and the duration is from January 16th to October 2019. And the study design was the glycoside only or glycoside add-on, and the second is glycoside plus metformin. glycoside plus metformin only or glycoside plus metformin and add-on also. And these are all the study arms, and we are not basically interested to know all these things, okay, because of keeping the large number of slides, around 60 to 70 slides. So the ultimate the reductions across the glycosylated hemoglobin baseline in all the study arms was achieved. So effectiveness of the inference is the effectiveness of glycoside and the glycoside plus metformin prescribed to Indian patients with type 2 diabetes mellitus during the routine clinical practice in India was assessed using electronic medical record data. The glycoside or the glycoside plus metformin prescribed as monotherapy or add-on therapy during the routine clinical practice effectively reduced the HbA1c in Indian type 2 diabetes patients. The glycoside can be an ideal choice if sulfonylurea is being considered. ఎందుకు రా స్లైడ్స్ మూవ్ చేస్తున్నారు? ఏం చేస్తున్నారు? ఇక్కడ ఉండాలి కానీ ఎక్కడ ఉంటే ఏముంది? ఇక్కడ అక్కడ అయిపోయింది మళ్ళీ. ఎప్పుడో మూవ్ చేస్తున్నాడు స్లైడ్స్, కొట్టేస్తున్నారు స్లైడ్స్ మీద. ఇది అసలు మూవ్ కావట్లేదు. చూడు ఒకసారి, పైకి కిందికి మూవ్ అవుతూనే ఉంది. ఇప్పుడు కాదు, నాకు చూస్తుంటే నీకు అర్థమైంది. కొట్టేస్తున్నారు ఇట్లా పెన్తో మొత్తం అంతా. What is this trash?
Yes, right. Automatic move rate.
ఎన్నిసార్లు వస్తుంది? Dhruv? Nobody is there. Doctor. Stop.